How does virtuous living lead to happiness? Does being good help you become happier? What does it even mean to be good or to live a virtuous life? Hi, this is Chris Hallett. Thanks for joining me on the Cultivate Happiness channel. Today, we're going to explore the connection between virtue and happiness. Virtue. There's a word I've heard more and more of lately, but not in a good context. You may have heard the term virtue signaling. When a person virtue signals, it means they want to be seen as virtuous, as opposed to the lack of virtue that they are generally criticizing in someone else. Virtue signaling is politically correct, self-righteous, supposed moral superiority. It's usually carried out on Twitter or some other form of social media. It sounds like, this person said or did such and such. Please notice how morally superior I am than he or she is. Thank you, social media hall monitor. So, what is virtue and what does it have to do with happiness? After all, we tend to associate virtue with a certain kind of unattractive prudishness. I want to reclaim this word virtue because virtuous living is a key to the good life, pun intended. To have a good life, you need to become good in both your attitudes and your actions. If you want to lead a life that's meaningful, impactful, flourishing, what I mean when I say a happy life, then you'll want to cultivate virtue. Now, virtues aren't rules. Virtue is not the imposition of some moral code. Rather, it's the cultivation of a moral character. Virtue is more about being than doing, but it is about doing. It's a little hard to describe, but like someone once said, I know it when I see it. Learning to live virtually is like learning to play an instrument. Hardly anyone is just a natural when it comes to playing the piano. There are so many keys, so much music theory to learn, but with repeated practice, playing the piano becomes more comfortable and, dare I say, easier. It becomes more what we would call second nature. Virtue is that way. It's not humans acting naturally. No, left to our own devices, most of us are selfish, shameless, unscrupulous people. We learn virtue, or rather we can learn virtue. The kind of virtue that leads to happiness is an internalized virtue that results from consistently choosing moral attitudes and actions. Aristotle, the 3rd century BC philosopher, had much to say about virtuous living and how that leads to happiness. And then Thomas Aquinas, the medieval Christian theologian, took Aristotle's ideas and saw how they were very similar in some important ways to the kind of virtuous life that's encouraged in Scripture. Aristotle and Aquinas, they came up with different ideas about and lists of virtues, but they both made huge contributions to our understanding of virtue. In more modern times, the psychologists Martin Seligman and Christopher Peterson have researched virtue by looking at what they call wisdom literature from around the world, and they've developed their own list of virtues and associated character strengths. I use some of their tools in coaching people on how to discover and use their strengths daily to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. I love this quote by Dr. Seligman. The belief we can rely on shortcuts to happiness, joy, rapture, comfort, and ecstasy, rather than be entitled to these feelings by the exercise of personal strengths and virtues, leads legions of people who, in the middle of great wealth, are starving spiritually. A good, happy life is a virtuous life. A life that lacks virtue will lack happiness. It's really that simple. So I want to take some time on this channel to talk about virtues and how to grow a virtuous, meaningful life. Here's my best stab at a definition of virtue. A virtue is a moral quality of character acquired by habitual moral action. As you intentionally act in morally good ways, you form the habit of acting in good ways, and in so doing, your character develops the virtue associated with that action. Gary Player, the famous professional golfer, was practicing hitting balls out of a bunker in Texas, and this good old boy with a big hat stopped by to watch. Gary's first attempt went in the hole. The man said, "You've got $50 if you knock the next one in." Player holed the next one. Then the proud Texan says, "You've got $100 if you can hold the next one." In it went for 3 in a row. As he peeled off the bills, he said, "Boy, I've never seen anyone so lucky in all my life." Player shot back, "Well, the harder I practice, the luckier I get." A virtue is a character quality that you build over time by consistently practicing that virtue, by consistently making the right moral choices and taking the right moral actions. And under it all lay the right moral thoughts. You see, you can cultivate virtue. Character follows what's been called the law of the farm. You reap what you sow. When you plant seeds in your mind, your life produces what the seeds contain. If you plant resentment, bitterness, self-centeredness, anger, immoral desires, well, you're going to harvest a life of misery. But if you intentionally plant thoughts of virtue, love, faith, hope, wisdom, justice, self-control, courage, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and goodness, well, you'll reap a life of meaning, of fulfillment, a life of happiness. By the way, that's my list of virtues. There are 12 of them, and I'll be taking some time to talk about each of these virtues and how you can build them into your life and experience a happier, more fulfilling existence. You want to be happy. Everyone does. So stick around and you'll learn how to grow your sense of well-being, peace, hope, and joy. Hey, if this video's been helpful, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to the Cultivate Happiness channel so you won't miss out on more videos that will encourage you to live a blessed, fulfilling, meaningful, happy life. Thanks for watching.